It's almost 24 hours later, and that result against West Ham still does not feel any better. It doesn't matter what kind of context or perspective or however those words are used, you put on this particular situation. It just is disappointing. It is tough to watch. It probably hurts much more than it did when Frank Lampard was in charge, and those were the results we were scoring. Because, well, then you knew something is going to be changing soon. Now, that what you were expecting to change has already changed, and somehow these results are not coming through for us. The performance is brilliant, the goals just won't come to us, and that must be so frustrating, especially when you see who we've sold, who we've brought in, and yet still not much has changed. So yeah, we can rant all we want and keep going and going and going, or we could choose to look at some of those rays of hope for redemption in there and hope for better. The beauty about that is that this video is going to be doing both. We're going to rant a little, ask a few questions, and then look out for those things that happened in that game that could have shown some signs that something good will be coming our way. And yeah, we'll call it a day. So thank you so much for joining us on this video. My name is Desire Derek Ford Mogumisa, and I am telling you on X, I am at D Mogumisa, on Instagram at D Mogumisa, and on TikTok at Double D Mogumisa. Follow me there, and the conversations will be ongoing. This is going to be a very interactive video. So first and foremost, I'll ask you to subscribe to this channel. I will ask you to drop us a like on this video, and please make sure that you share this link with as many Chelsea fans or people who would be interested in content like this as possible, so we can keep growing our community. Now let's get straight into this, shall we? The rant. Now, throughout the preseason, we played that 4-2-3-1, sometimes the 4-3-3, or a hybrid of both in the same game, and we did brilliantly. The goals were not coming to us, right? Well, we could argue that we were considering quite a few as well, but the goals were coming. And now suddenly the season starts, formation that we saw in preseason is no longer the one that we're using, and now we can't score. Disassi, a goal that you can't exactly say, oh, this is how it came about. And well, Kani Chukwuemeka, individual brilliance. So there is still a lot of work in the formation coming together and delivering those results that we saw in preseason. And we can't exactly say we're not considering goals, because we considered 3 against West Ham United, where we considered just 1 against Liverpool. So are Liverpool that poor that they only managed 1 goal against us? Well, maybe not, because we only managed 1 shot on goal. But now I do not know if it was them being poor up front or us defending so well, because of what we saw yesterday. So the quick questions are, aren't pre-seasons meant to prepare you for what you should do in the season? Wasn't the argument that when Mauricio Pochettino comes in, let him not start immediately, let Frank Lampard get done with that season as dire as it looked, so that Mauricio Pochettino can have a full pre-season and then start having prepared enough? It doesn't look like that helped. Well, partially because the results are simply not coming. How in charge of these signings is Pochettino anyways? Are these players that he actually wanted, that he knew where he was going to be playing them, and all of those kinds of things? Because if signings come in and then immediately you start changing around your formation, regardless of whether you're prepared to play like that in preseason or not, then there is an indication that you're not exactly in charge, or as in charge as we all out here are thinking you are. And there's just so much we can rant about, but that really will only be rants. Some of those rants will be answered in those rays of hope for redemption that I'm going to be coming up with starting just now. Number 1, here's something that I learned, that I hope you learn too, and that I pray you get to the comment section and tell me if you saw it as I did or not. One of those is the fact that this that happened against West Ham United especially is not happening for the last time. There's still quite a number of games in which it is going to happen, and we need to deal with that. Here's why I think so. When we signed players and won immediately, we were signing 25, 26, 27-year-old players who came in and, had either had experience in the league or at a top-level club, come in and they're starting at that level. At that point, they were really just adapting to the squad and starting from there going forward. That changes when you decide that your model is going to be to sign young players, pay the amount of money that we are paying. I know we're being castigated for paying that money, and that is simply because, well, you are paying for the potential, not for the value right now. I can't be saying, I've raised this guy, he's looking like he will hit the ceiling at this level, and therefore I want this much money because this is how much you're going to gain out of him, not because of what you have. So please, ignore the pundits, and that's me saying, ignore the pundits that are claiming that we overpaid for these players, because what we're really buying with this model is the potential. We are trying to avoid buying these players at 90, 100, 130 million pounds a season or two later. And that is going to be something. The challenge with that is that when you sign these kinds of players, then you have to give them the time to realize that potential. That potential is not going to be realized as they are on the benches or not showing up on match day squads. It's going to be realized as they play football. And guess who they're going to play that football for? Chelsea Football Club. So you have got to also sacrifice. You can't have your cake and eat it. At least that's what they say, right? So you're not going to sign this young player because they have this ceiling that they're going to be growing through to get to, and you think they will just somehow get that through training. They're going to do that in the games. That means that situations such as yesterday, where you dominate a game with 75% possession and you're not exactly passing across the pitch, and that is the beauty about this, we are actually causing problems and all of that. The only challenge is we are not creating enough chances to be converted, or we are not even shooting. What we are doing is these young players getting a little excited and then arriving in the box and realizing, oh, I moved alone, now I don't have support, or a couple of support plays that are not coming through, or a guy who, instead of shooting, decides to dribble one more, or a guy who shoots when he shouldn't be shooting and ends up giving away not even a goal kick, but a throw in. Hi, Modric. And that kind of stuff. So we have got to live through this. And these boys, they will have good days, they will have bad days, they will make silly decisions, they will make great decisions, they will have raw talent and raw intent, and sometimes these things will work out. The goal and the win for us in this model is how short that period is within which Pochettino gets these guys to be delivering as a unit, delivering wins and all of that. The shorter he makes it, the bigger he wins. Other than that, there is no miracles to this thing. You have to wait it out and you have to live through it. So yeah, the beauty about this, again, the ray of hope is it will come together quite well. It will come together quite well, but it will need time. Moises Caicedo, 115 million pounds, they say. Yeah, he comes in for and everything. He's been training, of course, with Brighton and Hove Albion, played some bits of preseason with them and stuff like that. Romeo Lavia did the same with Southampton and all of that. But it's much more than just training. It's not about being fit. You can be fit and all of that, but are you fit enough to play with this squad? It's not the same to come from one club and be brilliant at doing one thing and think you will transfer that directly to your new club. Again, in the title winning season for Leicester City, you could have gotten Danny Drinkwater and N'Golo Kante and brought both of them to Chelsea at the same time, and they would still have failed to do what they did at Leicester City. Because what? Well, the wingers here play differently from the wingers that played at Leicester City, and we're not going to change everything at Chelsea just so you can play what you played at Leicester City. And all of that. There's so much to change. There's so much to catch up on. There's so much to learn. There were positives in Caicedo's game. Well, the penalty he gave away will overshadow that, but he was a defensive midfielder who was looking to score a goal. He was a guy who got some area duels won, some ground duels won, and a whole lot more. There are good signs in there, and I think we can wait them out. The other key learning is the fact that Enzo Fernandez is actually the best penalty taker we can have. So simply because he missed that penalty, he shouldn't be seeing us have knee-jerk reactions. I think that's what I want to say about it. I've seen very respectable pundits also come out to say, oh, there is a striker on that pitch who should have taken those penalties and all of that. Come on, if you actually knew what you were speaking of, you would know that Nicholas Jackson, who you are telling me should have been the guy taking that penalty, is actually the worst possible alternative to Enzo Fernandez. So if your solution, if your alternative to Enzo Fernandez taking our penalties is Nicholas Jackson, friend, respectfully, take a seat. Why? Because Nicholas Jackson, I will give you this angle to it. His breakout season was last season, 1,600 minutes garnered, 12 goals, 4 assists. Decent for a guy. 0 were penalties. 0 were penalties. On the other hand, Enzo Fernandez had taken 5 penalties until yesterday, 100% conversion until yesterday, and suddenly he's the worst case there is. I mean, when Jorginho had just joined Chelsea and he was taking out penalties and he was doing the whole hop, skip and shoot kind of thing going on, he missed a penalty and everyone was all over him. He never changed that mode. He kept doing it. The club stood by him. He was our penalty taker. And over time, we were also confident. There's always going to be that one moment that a penalty is missed. Lionel Messi, one of the best to do it as far as football is concerned, he's missed penalties. Cristiano Ronaldo, name them. This is not Yaya Toure, who somehow managed a 100% conversion rate as far as penalties are concerned in the English Premier League. Someone is always going to miss a penalty. Again, Nicholas Jackson was in a club where he was, well, at some point, their most likely source of goals, but still the penalties didn't go to him because there was Gerard Moreno, who himself was a person who was deputizing Dane Parejo at Villarreal. Matter of fact, Arnaud Danjuma, remember the guy who left Villarreal, ended up, was it Everton, then Spurs to wherever he is right now? That guy, he was third in line before Nicholas Jackson could have been considered. Who knows? Maybe there were even more people between. So if this guy has come to Chelsea, he has come to a new league, he's trying to prove his worth and all of that, why do you want to give him the extra pressure to be the penalty taker in a game like that? Again, if Enzo Fernandez converts and you're right, we go 2-1 up, probably win 4-1 on the day and all of that. It gets all better and all of that. But hey, it's only the start of the season. It's day 2, match day 2. If slip-ups are going to be happening like this, it's the best time for them to happen. Because now we have 1 point. We have Luton next. We get that when we have 4 points and we build up on that. So there is nothing that should be causing the dangers we seem to be in at the moment. Our final learning point, a key one, is Kanicho Kwemeka. A guy who came in, and of course it sounded like it was crazy spend when we got him from Aston Villa and he came to the club and hardly played any minutes and all of that. I am happy to see what he brought to the pitch. I'm sad, very sad, to see how he left the pitch on clutches with a hurt knee and all of that, and I really, really hope it won't be for so long that he is out. But what a player that we've got in there. And I want to say that if that recruitment team got a Kani Chukwuemeka among other players, then you can be excited about some of the players that we've brought into the club. He was a young guy who throughout pre-season kept on keeping the hope high and stating that, well, he's hoping that this is the season he's given an opportunity. He was hoping he's not sent out on loan, and it doesn't look like he will be sent out on loan. When he was selected for the first 2 games, in both of them, he has shown that he's one of the guys, not an academy kid or a young kid trying to be one of the many on the pitch, but he said, I can be as good as any of these guys on here, and I'm just looking to contribute. He's played brilliantly in the small spaces. He's been present and, availed himself to receive the ball, even some of the tricky positions. And when you look at the goal that he executed, losing Susek the way he did, and then of course placing that shot in there, beautiful, beating Ariola. And then for me, the most important things, it kind of reminded me of Tammy Abraham, the celebration he put on in there. You could see what it meant for him. And it's all the underlining to some of the things that kept me very positive around this Chelsea side. The happiness in the camp. When all this was going wrong last season, our biggest worry was with the lack of fitness, people's minds were elsewhere, the lack of commitment and all of those kinds of things. With the preseason that we pulled off, the results might not be coming right now, but you see a united front. You've seen everything that has come through on Instagram from each of these players today. It shows you that this is a unit who understand what's going on right now, but they are willing to work together to come through it. And that is definitely something that wraps up some of those three rays of hope for redemption that I thought we'll get to share with you on this particular video. So hey, hit the comment section and share with me what you think of those rays of hope. Do you see them as such, or do you see it differently? I would love to hear your perspective as well. So the comment section is where I invite you to let's have that conversation. Speaking of invitations, I continue to invite you to subscribe to this channel. Let's build those numbers, shall we? Put that notification bell on, because these videos might be flying by you without you recognizing that they came out yet again. And yes, share this content as widely as possible so we can have so many more people join us on this journey. Until the next video, keep that blue flag flying high.